An unreasonable behavior basically is a situation whereby it will be unreasonable for somebody else to coexist with you in a relationship considering your unreasonable pattern of actions. And predictably so. Meaning that it is predictably confirmed that you have an unreasonable pattern of behavior. So such an unreasonable partner may have to be separated or divorced or let loose from someone that the person is trying to marry or someone that the person has been married to. Now, unreasonable behavior has been found to be existing. It's existing amongst men. It's also existing amongst women. I want to deal with 7 unreasonable behaviors that men exhibit, and it destroys their relationships and their marriages. 7 unreasonable behaviors. Number 1 is an abusive behavior. An abusive behavior. As a man, it's critical for you to understand this. A woman, by virtue of need, may stay with you for a long time because of her disadvantaged situation. And so she will condone your abusive attitude. Never think that she will continue for life. Once what limits the woman from expressing herself is sorted out, you'll be amazed how that she will walk out of that marriage even if it's after 32 years. As a man, you use direct words like you are stupid, you are useless, you are crazy, you have no brain. I told you you are a waste. It's even a pity I married you. Sir, that is abusive. It's what we call verbal abuse. And it destroys marriages. The next one is what I call physical abuse, where you are simply gifted in the artistry of slaps. It's so amazing to know that as men, we don't even stand up to our equals outside. But when you see us beating our wives, we want to prove to her that we are skillful wrestlers, extreme boxers, and very talented kickboxers. Honestly, it is the lowest expression of your masculinity to raise your hand on your wife. We have physical abuse, verbal abuse, and we have sexual abuse. I have talked with a lot of women lately, married and unmarried, who have had men in their lives, who still have men in their lives, who will pick them up. I'm not going to be graphic here, but I'm going to be as close as possible because we're dealing with practical issues. There are women whose husbands will pick them up in the name of sex, having sex with your wife. A man said to me, he said, I thought I paid the bride price, so I have the right to do anything with her sexually. The worst of it is emotional abuse. Using contemptuous word. Look at you. Who do you think you are? If not for me, will somebody like you be anything? Such very, very destructive words. Number 2, when it comes to the second reason why, a second kind of unreasonable behavior, it is what we call irresponsible behavior. I'm sure your mind will run loose now and you're going to quickly remember somebody. Irresponsible behavior. To be born a male is a matter of chance. To become a man is a matter of choice. It's a sign of irresponsibility when a man does not respond to his duties. You never abdicate your financial responsibilities as a man. Your honor is tied to it. Your dignity is tied to it. There's nothing wrong for your wife to support you, but she's not assigned to carry you. One of the unreasonable behaviors that men exhibit that destroys our marriages is what I call authoritarian behaviors. Controlling behaviors, intimidating behaviors, threatening behaviors, scaring behaviors. You appear at home, your wife is afraid. The children run around. When they hear you are coming, daddy is coming from afar, like it was in my time. Children start running around the house trying to hide because the lion of the tribe is coming. Your wife suddenly begins to fidget. She's calling yes, no, no, yes, because of fear. And you bask in the fact that your wife is afraid of you. The next unreasonable behavior that men exhibit that destroys our marriages and relationships is what we call immoral behaviors. Unrepentant immoral behavior. You sleep with house helps. You sleep with colleagues. You're planning to marry your wife, the lady you are planning to marry, but she's also aware you are sleeping with her friends. And you say, hey, so what? That's what happens to us as men. It's our weakness as men. Just simply immoral. Another unreasonable behavior is what we call addictive behaviors. Gambling, smoking, drinking, drugs. Even to sleep with your wife, you have to go and take some drugs. Now, where medically you are advised to do that, I'm not against that. But I'm saying that you're just addicted to drugs, marijuana, cocaine. And it's destroying your sense of reasoning. There's help. It's an unreasonable behavior to be hooked on drugs. Very soon your kids will be on it. Another unreasonable behavior is what we call unsupportive behavior. Your wife can't make reference to any support you give to her business, her dreams, her career. You never support your wife. You're never a shoulder for her to stand on. On the contrary, any career she wants to pursue, you are always the obstacle in her front. You are the only person who clips her wings. You can't make reference to anything your wife has become. Anything the lady you are about to marry is becoming by virtue of association with you. What is your investment into her life and her future? What are you doing to make her happy? For a woman who finds happiness through a relationship with a man will bring happiness to his home. I want to mention to you that one of the most unreasonable behaviors that most men exhibit that destroys marriages and relationships is what I call godless behaviors. Godless behaviors. Ungodly, Christless behavior. Scriptureless behavior. When a man behaves like there is no God. When you talk to your wife and treat your wife like God is dead. When you act in such a way that there's no recourse to the fear of God, remembering that you may be a husband, you are not a maker. It is therefore important for every one of us as men to recognize that yes, we are the leaders of the house. God has put us in charge, but unreasonable behavior will not go unpunished. What do you do if you're a single lady and all these unreasonable behaviors, they are in the guy you want to marry? The first thing to do when dealing with unreasonable behavior, recognize it. Number two, refuse to excuse it. Don't say, hey, he's a nice man, it's just that he acts unreasonably. No. Don't excuse it. Number three, reach out for help. Reach out for help. You're a married woman. You're married to a man who is unreasonable. Recognize it. Refuse to excuse it. Reach out for help. There are people around you who can guide you on the next step to take. Don't take any decision until you are properly counseled. There are better ways to deal with unreasonable behaviors. It doesn't have to result in divorce. We're going to be talking about 7 unreasonable behaviors of women that destroys their relationships and their marriage. Whether you're single or you're married, there are 7 unreasonable behaviors. There are many more, but we want to zoom in on the 7 crucial behaviors of women that undermines their relationships and their marriages. It is important that you know this as a mother, so you can groom your daughter not to exhibit this kind of behaviors. Number 2, it is critical that you know this as a wife, so that you do not exhibit this and lose your husband. It is also critical that you know these behaviors as a single lady, so that you don't have to wait for a long time and wonder why you're not married. The first unreasonable behavior that men can't stand, one of the major unreasonable behaviors that men just can't stand in women, is what we call nagging. You got me right, nagging. The Wall Street Journal defines nagging as the interaction in which one person repeatedly makes a request, the other person repeatedly ignores it, and both of them increasingly become annoyed. Here's the point. Nagging exists when one person keeps making a request, the other person keeps ignoring the request. And when the request is ignored, the person who nags goes after the person who ignores and keeps repeating, keep pounding on the issue. When a man feels that the expectation of his wife, her request, is unrealistic, is either he goes quiet, doesn't reply her, which again, yes, there's a need for the man to respond. But when some men don't talk a lot. So when a man feels this is just an unreasonable request, he may just go quiet and not respond to the issue, or just avoid you. Now, women with the grace, the tenacity, the resilience, the persistence that you have, you keep coming at the man. Matured women don't use nagging as a tool. Nagging is a proof of immaturity in a woman. Oh my. It doesn't matter how old you are. If nagging is your strategy, immaturity is your expression. The second unreasonable behavior that men find to be very, very uncomfortable. You need to take note of this. It is called contempt. Contempt. C-O-N-T-E-M-P-T. Contempt. This action, this behavior includes disrespecting a man, dishonoring a man, disregarding a man, demeaning a man, cursing a man, name calling a man. Such behaviors no man can stand. Such behaviors, there is just not a single man, whether he is a pope, a bishop, an archbishop, I don't care to know how godly he is. You cannot feed me with contempt and expect us to have a relationship. No matter how much a woman tries to play the role of a husband, she cannot be called a husband. She can do the duties of a husband, but the man is the one that is given that name, husband. Let me share with you the third unreasonable behavior that men can stand. It is called rejection. Rejection. And there are 3 kinds of rejection that men eventually react to. One is sexual rejection. As a married woman, it is dangerous for your husband to be served with sexual rejection. It is one of the worst kind of rejection that a man can't handle, particularly from his wife. So if you are a woman who usually meets out rejection, if you are single, you're not married, but you always have a way of throwing psychological rejection, psychological abuse, physical abuse, physiological abuse. If you do that, no man can stand an atmosphere of rejection. Every man wants to be in a place where he feels accepted. The next thing I want to share with you quickly is what I call withdrawal. It's a bad habit that men can find, they just can't take easily. When a woman practices withdrawal. What do I mean by that? Whenever you have a conflict, we understand that conflict is not healthy. But, conflict is not a palatable situation. The reality, however, is that conflict is part of life. We all don't see things alike. We all did not grow up from the same family. Our perspectives to life totally different. Therefore, we are going to, from time to time, have a little bit of conflict of perspectives. It doesn't mean that the relationship is bad. It just simply shows that there are healthy human beings in the relationship. The worst thing that can happen is to have a situation whereby, because we had a conflict over an issue, as a woman, the next thing you start doing is that you start withdrawing. You pretend to now become silent. You don't want to talk again. You withdraw your engagement from your partner. It just takes life out of the relationship. You emotionally distance yourself from your partner. Withdrawal does not help a relationship at all. It doesn't help any relationship. I want to talk about number 5, comparison. Most of the men that I've been interacted with say, listen, you know what? I can stand anything, but I cannot stand a woman who compares me. Compares me to our pastor. You know, our pastor takes care of his wife. You know, my brother, my father. You compare your husband to every man you know, your boss in the office, your neighbor who just bought a new car for his wife on her birthday. No man can stand the atmosphere of comparison. It kills a man. It destroys a man. It demeans a man. Stop comparing your husband with somebody else. You can inspire your husband, but don't compare your husband with somebody else. Don't compare your man with somebody else. Inspire him, but don't compare him. The next thing I want to quickly share is addiction. One of the unreasonable behaviors that men can't stand is addiction. No man can stand a woman who is addicted to something he does not find interesting. Alcohol, pornography, food, drugs, shopping, gambling. Here's the point. Lisa Bahar once said, your addiction quickly becomes the third party in your marriage. No man can stand a woman who has a third party as an addiction in his relationship. Meaning, when I'm supposed to be spending time with you, you are holding your phone on Instagram, on Snapchat, on TikTok, and stuff like that, always chatting with your friends. You are addicted to social media. So when your husband needs your attention, something else is stealing your attention. So we call your addiction the third party in your relationship. The other thing we're beginning to see as a behavior, a behavior that most men can't stand, is what we call ungodliness. When a woman is wordless, listen, I say wordless. You know every movie on Netflix. You know every Nollywood movie is Zakaba Part 1, is Zakaba Part 2, is Zakaba Part 3. As a mother, you are wordless. The word does not dwell in you. As a woman who will be raising the sons the daughters that God has given to you. Nothing dismays the heart of a man like knowing that he's going to work and he's leaving his children with a wordless wife. And if you're a wordless woman, you'll be a worldly woman. Meaning the things of this world will preoccupy your mind. It's about the latest finger, acrylic finger, the latest Peruvian hair, Brazilian wear, Colombian hair, the latest, you know, all kinds of stuff. Who is wearing the latest Gucci? It's all about worldliness. It's all about carnal things. There's nothing wrong with looking good. But if that is what preoccupies your mind, it is the saddest thing in the life of a man. Happy is the man. Happy is the man who has a worded wife. What is the value of leaving wealth to children when the word is not in them? What is inheritance without heritage? Give your children heritage before you talk about inheritance. The absence of heritage will make children destroy inheritance.